Today I thought I'd go snooping through someone else's shelves. Hey folks, it's Abby, and today we're going to be looking at my dad's TBR. So my dad reads a lot. A lot. He currently has 2 books on the go, one is at work and one is by his spot on the sofa, and he doesn't keep any of the books that he reads. He reads a book and he unhauls a book. I don't know how he does it, and I don't know how I turned out like this, but here we go. So he doesn't actually have that many books left on his TBR anymore. It's always after birthdays, Christmas and Father's Day that he ends up with quite a few books on his TBR, and although it's not that long since his birthday, he's been reading quite a bit, so he doesn't have all that many books left in his little stack there. But I thought we would go through them all the same and I would judge his TBR and we can go through them. No, I didn't ask. No, he won't care. Yes, I should have prepared these.
And yes, this is the biggest book that he owns. No.
Okay, so first things first, he has OS maps. Why? He really does not have many books left. These are the only books that he has left. All the rest of them he's either read or he's currently reading. I know, for example, he's currently reading Bitter Trade, which I got him to pick up. I was unhauling it and it was a historical fiction about coffee, and I was like, do you want it? Because he loves coffee, and he was like, ah. So he's trying that out right now. I don't think he's enjoying it, but he's reading that right now. But he currently has 5.5 books on his TBR. I'm going to start with the half, and that is Sherlock Holmes' Casebook of Curious Puzzles, a collection of enigmas to puzzle even the greatest detective by Dr. Gareth. So yeah, it's not like a book, but he does a lot of puzzles. My dad is ridiculously clever. No formal education whatsoever. He left school at like 14, but he's very smart, very analytical. And this looks like a lot of fun. It's got lots of different puzzles for him to do, so he'll probably be doing this when he finishes off whatever Sudoku book he's got next. Then we have Bridge of Spies by Giles Whittle. This is the dramatic offence behind the film. I don't know about the film. It's a gripping true story of 3 men, the spies exchange between the Soviet Union and America on Berlin's Glienicke Bridge in '62. Interesting. So it is a true story about the Cold War. He doesn't usually read this far back. Interesting. He usually reads modern day war stuff. A good choice, Kevin. Then he has Battle Scars by Jason Fox. This, I think, is one of the SAS people. My parents watched the reality show on, I think it's ITV, where the SAS takes a bunch of B-list, C-list, D-list celebrities, and they have to go through basic training for the SAS. For context, my dad was in the army for 24 years, so he really enjoys stuff like this. So I think that this is this guy's memoir. He's read most of the other ones. He's read Anne Middleton's, who I think is a knob. That one is not something I would ever care about, but he'll very much enjoy it. Then we have Kill the Father by Sandrone Dazieri. A mother and her son are abducted from a park in Rome, launching a massive manhunt. The chief of Rome's major crimes unit lures to the case 2 of Italy's top analytical minds. Deputy Captain Colomba Caselli, a fierce warrior-like detective still reeling from having survived a bloody catastrophe, and Dante Dore, a man who spent 11 young years captive, abducted by a mysterious man who called himself the Father. The Italian police fear the Father has returned, but when Colomba and Dante begin following the ever more bizarre trail of clues, they grasp that what's really going on is darker than they ever imagined. This sounds really good. This sounds like a really good thriller. I want to know what he thinks of this. I'm very interested to know what he thinks of this. And then there's just 2 books left. Surprisingly, there is no James Patterson on here. My dad is making his way through every single James Patterson book ever published. He's read a lot of them. Some of the older ones he hasn't got to, some of them he doesn't care about. He is less into the women's fiction side of things, and he's less into the young adult ones. So he picked up the first book in the Maximum Ride series thinking that it was an adult book. When he found out it wasn't, he unhauled it, rather than giving it to me. Still offended. So I'm surprised none of those are on there, so apparently I need to buy him some books. But the last 2 books that we have Palace of Treason by Jason Matthews. Paris, a young woman is cornered on a deserted boulevard. Moments later she walks away, leaving her assailant for dead. Athens, an elderly man walks into the American embassy with a story to tell. Moscow, the most unlikely of traitors, is uncovered by the most dangerous of men, and Washington, a brilliant unorthodox CIA agent, must single-handedly connect the dots to stop an intricate house of cards from toppling in a Cold War that's taking a terrifying new twist. Apparently he's reading more about the Cold War. Interesting. What I do know about this is that Mum picked it up for Dad, thinking that it sounded interesting, like that does sound right up his street. Turns out that this is the second book in a series. So he's actually had this on his TBR for 3 or 4 years, because we've never got around to gifting him the first book. So maybe that's the one I can get him. I can get him a James Patterson, and I can get him the first fucking book in the series so he can actually read that. And then the last book on his TBR is probably going to be on here for a long time. He is currently 100 pages into it, and it is The Defense of the Realm, The Authorized History of MI5 by Christopher Andrew. I'm much happier having read War and Peace than this. But it does sound really interesting. I think it's interesting that it's the authorized history, because I feel like that's then going to miss some things out, just by the nature of things. Those are the books that my dad has. So I was thinking I was going to come out here and there were going to be loads of books that my dad had read and was stacking up to get rid of. No. There's one. And that is Clive Cussler and Graham Brown's Journey of the Pharaohs, a novel from the Pneumophiles. This was actually gifted to my dad by Carrie from Caring for Books, so she gifts me a lot of books, as you guys probably know, and my parents don't like me having so many books. So my dad joked that the next time she wanted to get me any books, she had to get him a book. I have my dad's wish list on Goodreads, so she got him a book. I thought I'd let you know, Carrie, that he did really like this. This is kind of links to MI5 and Egyptian, like, history, so he really enjoyed this one. He enjoys all of these books, so thank you very much from him, because I know he won't go on camera for it. Usually there's a load of Clive Cussler and James Patterson down here, and there's not. So all this has been is me realising I need to buy my dad some books. Let me know down below in the comments, guys, do your parents read? My mum used to read kind of women's fiction, kind of shopaholic-esque, but she doesn't anymore, and now the only books that she picks up are middle grades, because she works in a primary school, elementary for Americans. They're the only books that she reads now. And then, as we've mentioned, my dad just reads a lot of stereotypical bloke reads and military stuff. That's it. So yes, let me know if your parents read down below and what they read. And if you've enjoyed the video, please do hit like and hit subscribe. I'm usually talking about my own reads rather than my dad's. I read mainly fantasy books, so a little bit different. Just before I go, I do want to say that I forced my dad to read Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. I know that Jay Kristoff has a lot of problems, but I already owned the books. Thank you very much, Carrie. She gifted me all 3 of them. Theme here. And also it was just the sort of thing that I knew he was going to enjoy. He wasn't going to go out and buy any Kristoff books. He won't read any more from him, but I knew he was going to enjoy Nevernight. And he did. He loved it, and he read the next 2 books and didn't enjoy them as much. So apparently the vibe changes. We'll see. I haven't read them yet. He read them first. But I thought I would leave that in there, that he really liked Nevernight, because he does like fantasy as well. He has read all of the currently published Game of Thrones books, so it's just his main thing tends to be thrillers. I'm gonna shut up now. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!